Everyone thought the returned Christmas gift was the moment everything finally fell apart. But what if that was only meant to distract you? Because behind the scenes, something far more serious was quietly unfolding. Something that was never meant to be heard, let alone recorded. According to insiders, a single private moment may have captured the truth. No edits, no explanations, no excuses. And once you understand who recorded it and what it may reveal, every story you thought you knew begins to collapse. So before you decide what really happened, stay with me, because this changes everything. We all believed the returned Christmas gift was the moment everything finally cracked, the scene that proved the truth could no longer be hidden. But that moment now feels like a carefully placed distraction, because behind the scenes, something far more serious has been quietly taking shape. According to multiple sources familiar with the situation, there is allegedly a recording, not speculation, not interpretation, but an audio moment captured during a visitation weekend that was meant to rebuild trust between a father and his daughter. Instead, it may have documented the precise instant that trust quietly collapsed for good. For years, viewers were presented with a single repeating narrative that Cody Brown was a father desperate to see his children, but blocked by circumstances, distance, conflict, schedules, weather, obligations, and misunderstandings. Season after season, he spoke of heartbreak, longing, and frustration, insisting he was doing everything he could to stay connected. But insiders now suggest that this narrative may only be half the story, because what is rumored to exist does not just expose absence, it suggests intention. It implies that missed moments were not always unavoidable, but sometimes chosen. And the most unsettling part is not simply what was said, but who may have captured it. Truly Brown has always been the quiet observer, the child often seen in the background, absorbing more than she revealed. Never the loudest, never the one demanding attention. And perhaps that is why no one noticed when she stopped being passive and started paying attention. Teenagers hear what adults assume will be forgotten, and they notice patterns long before they speak them aloud. And unlike previous generations, they carry the ability to document reality at any moment. According to whispers circulating within inner family circles, the recording was not planned. It was not an attempt to expose or trap anyone. It was simply a moment where someone believed they were unobserved and spoke freely. Cody reportedly believed he was having a private conversation, a moment without cameras, without performance, without an audience. Truly was nearby, assumed to be disengaged, assumed not to be listening, and that assumption may have changed everything, because what insiders claim is heard on the audio is not rage or chaos, but something colder and more revealing, a casual tone discussing trips, absences, and missed milestones that had long been explained publicly as unavoidable obligations. Only this time, the explanation reportedly shifts. Business travel allegedly becomes leisure time, shopping, personal resets, and comfort framed as earned rather than necessary, moments carved out intentionally while important events were missed elsewhere. Imagine the impact of hearing that as a child, realizing that absence was not caused by inability, but by preference. That realization reframes every memory, every excuse, every unanswered call, and every delayed promise. And if the reports are accurate, Truly did not react emotionally. She did not interrupt. She did not confront. She simply listened and recorded. And that quiet response may be the most powerful detail of all, because for years, Cody leaned on explanations of responsibility, sacrifice, and burden, presenting himself as stretched thin, doing what he must to provide. And that framing worked for a long time. It worked publicly, it worked narratively, and it may have even worked internally. But according to those close to the situation, it stopped working for his children, especially for Truly, who, after relocating, began experiencing consistency and presence from someone else, someone who showed up without explanation or delay. That contrast became impossible to ignore. And when she returned for visitation, she did not return as the child who once waited patiently. She returned as someone with questions, simple, honest questions that any child would ask. Why were you not there? Why could you not come? Why does something always happen when I need you? And according to insiders, those questions were met with familiar explanations, the same script that had been used for years. But later, in private, the tone reportedly changed. And if the alleged recording is accurate, that is where the story truly begins to unravel, because the explanation shifts from necessity to avoidance, from obligation to convenience. And that shift is what has caused so many to re-examine everything that came before, because it suggests the distance was never just physical, it was emotional and intentional. And once that realization takes hold, it changes how every cast moment is understood. Every absence takes on new meaning, and every excuse feels different in hindsight. This is not a story about one missed visit or one conversation. It is about a pattern slowly coming into focus and the quiet realization that the truth was not hidden. It was simply spoken when no one was supposed to be listening. According to those familiar with the alleged audio, what makes it so unsettling is not a single explosive statement, but the overall tone, a sense of comfort and certainty, as if the person speaking believed the story was already secured and could not be challenged. Insiders claim the conversation sounds casual, almost routine, like something that has been said many times before without concern or hesitation. And that familiarity is what gives it weight, because it suggests this was not a moment of stress or misunderstanding, but a reflection of mindset. The alleged recording purportedly includes discussion of missed visits, school events, and family obligations that had long been explained publicly as unavoidable conflicts. Yet in this private moment, those same absences are said to be framed differently, described as choices made for personal balance, rest, and comfort. And if true, that reframing changes everything, because it suggests that what was presented as sacrifice may in fact have been preference. And that distinction matters, especially to a child who spent years accepting explanations at face value. Sources claim there are moments in the audio where avoidance is discussed openly, not as something regrettable, but as something justified. Skipping events to avoid uncomfortable interactions, choosing distance rather than accountability. And that detail has deeply resonated with viewers because it contrasts sharply with years of public statements about longing and heartbreak. What adds another layer to the tension is the alleged presence of validation during the conversation. Insiders suggest that the discussion is not one-sided, but supported, reinforced, and normalized, which shifts the focus from an isolated comment to a shared perspective. And when whispers of the recording began circulating, something noticeable happened. Behind the scenes, conversations slowed, familiar defenses disappeared, and those who once spoke confidently went quiet. Silence often signals that something real is being processed, because this was not vague speculation, it was detailed. Timelines aligned, statements mirrored past episodes, and explanations suddenly felt incomplete. And to understand why this matters, it helps to look at how carefully Cody Brown has curated his image over the years. Every season, every interview, every confessional shaped to reinforce a narrative of effort and frustration, a man trying against impossible odds. And that image held because it relied on controlled moments, edited conversations, and public framing. But a private recording does not play by those rules. It does not adjust for sympathy or context. It simply captures what is said when no one expects to be held accountable. And according to insiders, what truly may have captured was not cruelty, but indifference. Language that framed fatherhood as obligation rather than connection, something to manage rather than prioritize. And indifference often cuts deeper than anger, because it signals absence of care rather than presence of conflict. And if the reports are accurate, there are moments where rest and mental health are emphasized as important, but only selectively prioritized. And that selective empathy has frustrated viewers who have watched emotional needs dismissed elsewhere for years, because suddenly boundaries matter when they serve one relationship, but not when they would require showing up for another. And the contrast between lived experience and spoken justification is what gives this alleged recording its power, because it validates feelings that were previously easy to dismiss as misunderstanding or exaggeration. And when the presence of another consistent figure is reportedly referenced, it adds another emotional layer. Insiders suggest the tone shifts toward insecurity framed as humor, implying competition rather than concern. And that framing reveals a mindset where presence is seen as performance rather than responsibility. And for a child, hearing that realization can be profound, understanding that they are not seen first as a person, but as a symbol within a larger conflict. And that is where the transformation occurs, because instead of responding emotionally, truly reportedly listened, observed, and preserved the moment. And that action reframes her role entirely, not as a passive participant, but as someone quietly acknowledging reality. And while the recording has not been released publicly, its reported existence alone has already altered conversations, perceptions, and relationships. Because once a narrative begins to fracture, it cannot simply be restored. And whether the audio ever surfaces or not, the impact may already be irreversible, because the truth did not arrive loudly. It arrived quietly and waited to be recognized. If this story proves anything, it is that the most powerful truths are rarely shouted. They are spoken quietly when no one thinks they are being watched. And once those words exist, they cannot be unheard. Whether the recording ever surfaces or not, the impact is already clear, because it forces a re-examination of every excuse, every absence, and every promise. And sometimes the hardest ending is realizing the truth was there all along, waiting to be noticed.